It's more of an ominous tone this time. Careful, Gon. Be alert. I was just about to say, you might have eyes on you. Someone, I mean, it might be multiples, right? Because realistically speaking, you know, for the people that have been a part of that game already or are in the game, you know, I mean, yeah, it's a good strategy to, you know, maybe target the newbies. Okay, now this score's back. Quick look at Gon, and then off he goes. Puhat. Hey, it's one of the goons. Ooh. Ooh. Be alert, boys. Huh? He got cards? Him and his friends, eh? Give it some time. Give it some time. Oh. Oh god. It's an experienced player, isn't it? Yeah. Ooh, I caught the first part. Reveal the free slots. Ooh, that's quite the handy card. God damn, it's going quick. Too quick. Trace. Oh. Yeah, no shit, bro. That's cool. Hey, Troop HQ. Oh. Machi. Ooh, okay. He's been doing some research, eh? More or less. Could it relate to Crollo somehow? Trace. It's kind of like a GPS pinpoint. I love that reaction. Okay then, let's see. Eat up first. Okay, that's not a hunter. It's gotta be full of NPCs, right? The town? Yeah. NPC, yeah. That looks good. Oh god. So he's been targeted already. Oh, that's a cool effect. Maybe it's time for a bit of exposition now. Player hunting. Now you don't get their book or he's really upfront about that offer. Hold on. Think it out.
ここに来る途中、他のプレイヤーにスペルの攻撃を。
He was one of the ones watching.
もしかしてずっと見てたの？俺たちのこと。
Oh, so they're
俺だけじゃない。様々な連中が
right scoping out for new talent, new allies potentially, or targets.
やけに気前がいいね。何か裏があるとしか思えないぜ。
やむを得ないのさ。このゲームの難しさ、いやらしさ。
And Gon's father
それ
made
が分
it.
かって初めて俺たちの誘いに耳を貸すようになるからな。
I mean, it is called Greed Island after all, right?
情報を聞くだけでも有意義だと思うがね。
Fair point.
初めてだって思うの？途中でゲームから抜けてまた戻ってきたのかもしれないだろう。
ブック。これが君たちが初心者だという証拠だ。慣れたものなら相手がバインダーを出したらすぐ
To immediately get ready, right? To counter.
防げないからな。たとえカードを持ってなかったとしてもバインダーを出す。はったりは大事だ。
スペルのカード
Good trick to
どうや
know.
って手に入れるの？
最も簡単なのは魔法都市マサドラへ行く。
Masadora, City of Magic. Yes, please.
リターンオン
Right.
マサドラへ
キルア、行ってみようよ。キルアにかけられたスペルも気になるし。
Oh, look at this close up.
おう。
He's mesmerized there. It was like from his perspective. Looking at Gon's big eyes. Hey, Puhat and the girl.
ああ、ボマーの仕業だ。
Ooh. Oh, a potential legendary figure.
スペルによるものではない。このゲームのスペルの中には人を殺傷する類のものは一つもない。
スペルは全部で40種類。その中で君たちが受けたスペルは調査
Inspection spell, right?
トレー
It
スか
revealed.
アドヒージョンのいずれか。
それらのスペルを新参プレイヤーにかけるた
Yeah,
め、
and target newbies.
スタート地点で見張ってる連中がいる。そして貴重なカードを手に入れたらすぐに現れ強奪する。
Yeah, so it is kind of like a.
最悪の場合は命を落とすこともある。プレイヤー狩りを目的とした最も過激な奴ら。
But you don't get anything out of it. They confirmed it.
このゲームでアイテムカードをゲットする方法は大きく分けて3つ。
Earn
自分
them,
で探す。
find them,
他のプレイヤーと交換する。
take them by
他のプレ
force.
イヤーから奪う。
他のプレイヤーから強引に奪うものが増えてきた。自力でカードを入手できない者たちが力ずくで他の者のカードを奪う。
As long as you don't kill them,
抵抗
right?
する者は簡単に殺す。殺せば指輪は消滅し、カードデータも消えるが、
Right. So how do you
その
get
分
them?
カード化できるアイテムが
Ah, okay. I didn't know that
増え
part.
る。相手を殺してしまったらカードは奪えない。当初このルールはプレイヤー同士の殺し合い防止が目的だったはず。
Yeah, but then they started killing for
それが裏目に。
another reason. Yeah, backfiring.
少なくとも俺たちは暴力を使わない。
スペル。スペルで奪う。だろ。
正
Okay.
解だ。
Do tell.
スペルの中のカードを奪うスペル。
Ooh.
それを防御するスペルがあるんだ。そのスペルカードを俺たちが独占する。プレ
Okay.
イヤーを悩ませ続けたカード化限度枚数、それを逆手に取る。
奪われるリスクを限りなくゼロにし、確実にカードを奪う。
Gone?
君たちに今かかっているスペルも解除する。
That's enticing. Ooh, it didn't show Gon's eyes there, right? Now, did I already see the bomber potentially? Maybe, it's possible.
キルア、ごめん。
Ooh.
何が？俺はいい。自力でプレイするから。
Yeah, the whole time he.
リーダーがそう言うんだね。俺もパス。
Cute.
おいゴン、待てってば。
He wasn't liking it. Something was.
君はどうする？
ではまずスペル解除のため、君たちには一度ゲームの外に出てもらう。
Ooh, okay.
ゲームに戻ってきたら、そのままスタート地点で待機しててくれ。こち
Kinda
ら
like a reset.
大丈夫、仲間が迎えに来た。
誰に見られているかわからない。
Ooh, look at
早
this.
速始めよう。
Cool looking.
使うのはリーブのカードだ。
Ah, off the island.
おい、ゴンってばよ。どういうことだか説明しろよ。
ごめんねキルは。どうしても我慢できなくなっちゃって。
いやだからごめんの意味わかんねえって。
だって これでキルアのスペルは当分
うん
かかりっぱなしになっちゃったし。
I think he'll be fine. It is Killua after all.
でも俺の親父探しのためにキルアにもゲームに参加してもらってるのに。
違うよ。
Mm.
俺がゲームに参加してるの。
Yeah, yeah.
それよ
Because he
こ
wants
そ
to spend time.
なんで怒ってたんだよ。
あいつらジンの作ったゲーム、
Ah,
殺
right.
戮だとか奪い合いが前提だとか悪い風にばっか言うんだもん。
My boy, your father did make it after all, though.
このゲームを楽しもうと思った。怖いのはゲームじゃなくてプレイヤーの考え方だよ。他の人を傷つけてまでカードを取ろうとするなんて。
俺はありだと思うぜ。だからこそのあんた専用ゲームだろ。
でも
殺しはなしさ。俺だってそこは賛成だよ。でも例えば、
Hmm.
ルールを決めた上での戦闘で勝った方が相手のカードをもらえるってのはどうだ？
Competition.
ありだ。
な、俺にスペルをかけたやつだってあの連中の作戦だってゲームとして真っ当なやり方だと思うぜ。とにかくあんな奴らをほっといて俺たちはゲームを楽しもうぜ。
Yeah, he wants to do the thing Gon really wants to do, right? Enjoy the game. Oh, another close up.
キルアと一緒にここに来られて、
Ah.
キルアと会えて俺本当に良かったよ。
やめろよバカ。まずいだ。
なんで？俺本当にそう思ってるんだよ。
Gon? It's the same for him.
逆だよ。
Hmm.
ゴン、俺なんだ。俺の方こそお前に会えて
Yeah, yeah.
本当によかった。
なるほど、そういう
It's also kind of
わけ。
ominous.
それにしてもいいわね。若い男の子の向き
Two
な
young
友情
boys? Are you not young as well?
なんか無茶苦茶
Oh
にしてやりたい気分。
no.
互いの気持ちを深め合うゴンとキル
Absolutely, yeah.
そんな二人を見つめるこの少女は
Oh no. Got ourselves a troublemaker. Okay, let's get into it, folks. I mean, right as I get, perhaps one of the most beautiful and heartfelt moments of the entire series up until this point, right? I end up getting a bit of a twist. Maybe, I don't know, maybe calling it a twist is a bit much, but it's certainly a surprise, right? And I'm speaking of our mysterious girl, right? That made it into Greed Island, that passed the test. And ultimately, indeed, looks can be deceiving. Looks are deceiving. Yeah, it looks like she is a troublemaker, right? And she's kind of locked in on both Gon and Killua. Hell, she picked up on everything, right? She picked up on their conversation. So, there's something going on here. The one thing that is clear is that she is someone that is impressive, someone that is, up to standard, someone that was able to make it into Greed Island, right? So, yeah, there's something going on here because, this is someone who appears to be around the same age as Gon and Killua, yet the way she speaks, right? And, I don't know, the cadence of the voice as well, right? As far as the voice acting goes, and again, her take on just Gon and Killua and calling them or referring to them as, innocent young boys. I believe she said the friendship of innocent young boys, right? Something along those lines. So even though she does look like she could be around the same age as Gon and Killua, or she certainly did, because now I kind of get to see, this different expression on her face. The thing is, for those who know, it kind of reminded me of pudding, Charlotte pudding, right? I'm not going to go any further than that just in case of, potential spoilers. But if you know, right? That expression specifically, her sitting up top there and looking at Gon and Killua, and of course, eavesdropping on that really intimate conversation, intimate in the sense that, this is something really quite, beautiful, right? This friendship, these are the best of friends. Right, for each one of them, for Gon and Killua, this is the best friend, the first and only best friend they've had in their lives. Right, this is something each one of them truly cherishes, and of course, both of them do communicate that in a different capacity. Gon is a bit more blunt. He's a bit more outgoing. He's not the type to hold back. Right, he just puts it out there. He's even a little bit confused about Killua's reaction. He's like, it's true. I've got to say, in that sense, he is really quite similar to Luffy as well, you know. But you know, Killua at this point, even though he is really much more, comfortable around Gon, he still kind of struggles in expressing himself or expressing that side of things, right? Those feelings, that gratitude that he does have for Gon, right? I mean, Gon. Before I go any further, both of them have just completely changed each other's lives. Completely, right? For the better. For the better, right? But Killua, my God, the trajectory of his life has been altered since he has run into Gon, since he has become friends with Gon, right? And, you see that Killua really appreciates that, truly appreciates that. I mean, it's more than just appreciating. And I do believe you have to give a lot of credit to the voice actor for Killua in this case as well. You really truly feel that. I felt it, the gratitude and that tone of, okay, this person changed my life, that I'm truly thankful for this person. I mean, Killua at this point most definitely seems to have changed fundamentally as a person, right? His perspective on things is just so different at this point. You go back to Killua in the early days of the Hunter exam, and then of course, a few arcs after that as well. Right up until this point, it's a different person. It's a different person altogether, right? I mean, yes, of course, he retains a lot of his personality and some of his beliefs, but again, there's some major changes that took place in his mindset since coming across Gon, right? Since becoming friends with Gon. So yeah, it's one of the standout moments of the series for me at this point, for sure, right? I mean, yes, again, like I said, there is a bit of a twist right at the end there, as our troublemaker has kind of locked in on them. But again, it remains to be seen, because at this point, I'm not completely sure if her intentions are just completely insidious, right? Let's see, right? I've got a whole arc ahead of me. It's still early days in the Greed Island arc. And, I've got to say, this is, as expected, quite a juicy episode in terms of exposition. There's a solid chunk of that in this episode. And it's good. That's good. That's exactly the thing you need, in something that really does seem to have a lot of rules, right? But the thing is, the feeling I'm getting from this, and the tone I'm getting from this is that, having a grasp on these rules is going to make it really quite enjoyable. If you really kind of dedicate yourself to understanding these rules, and it's nothing complicated at this point. It really feels like if you dive in and embrace these rules and the different cards and the mechanics of the game and everything, you're going to have a fun time. You're going to have a fun time. And the good news is, I feel like I'm already engaging with the mechanics, the rules, the cards, the different types of cards. But I think there is another crucial factor at play here. And it goes back to the discussion points from the last episode, right? It's really familiar. And this episode made it even more familiar. The trading card game aspect of it, right? The rules of the different cards, the spells, the counters, the strategy of it all. That right there, I think that was one of the more exciting elements of this, that this episode really kind of reiterates, right? This is kind of about strategy. This arc essentially is more so about strategy rather than, all out action. But again, that being said, people are still dying. That's not off the table, even if it's not really something that is meant to be a part of the game. But I'll get into the ideology of that in a bit, right? Because it all kind of goes back to the creators of the game itself, right? You've got Jing himself, Gon's father, who he really kind of defends in this, or feels really quite defensive for in this episode. That in itself is really another interesting talking point. But then, beyond Jing, you've got Jing and friends, right? They made it a point to point that out in the last episode, that it's not just Jing, it's Jing and friends. And, if you look at the scope of this, the scale of this, I really finally kind of got to look at it in this episode, because in the last episode, I still didn't have a firm idea. I mean, at this point, I've seen a sizable town, right? And then I've heard about a city of magic, right? So of course, that means there's going to be other places, other towns, villages, other cities, right? This is exciting. It's really quite exciting. This next step into, this arc, because of this episode. So yeah, it's actually much larger than I initially thought, right? And again, I feel like I just got a taste of it in this episode. So yeah, it makes sense that there is a team of them. And then of course, that aspect is another interesting talking point, isn't it? Right? The mechanics of the game, right? How exactly does it function? They've kind of showcased some of the NPC population at this point, right? How exactly is this game populated, right? Now, the one thing I do know is, a major factor of this is Nen, right? You need to be a Nen practitioner of a certain, God damn it, of a certain level, hunters, Nen users that had to be screened, right? So of course, Nen is at play. So essentially, Nen is a crucial component, a critical component of Greed Island, I think, in its functionality as well, I believe. So there, you also have this interesting potential of, the other friends. I know all about Jing, but, how about these other friends? I'm a little bit focused on them, right? And the things they bring to the table. I'm sure, each person from that friend group, I suppose, brought a different specialty to the table, right? I think I may have mentioned this possibility in the last episode, but I'm sure that each person was responsible for certain elements of the game. Now, I keep calling it a game. In spirit, it is a game, right? The elements are there for it to be a game, for sure. But, there's certain things that are much larger than just a game, right? First of all, I still believe, they've been transported to a real place, right? They kind of show us. They showed us Gon in the last episode, of course, getting, pulled in, right? His entire body, all of them are physically getting transported, right? And they showed me this a couple of episodes ago through Phaeton and Finks, right? Their entire physical form gets sucked in or, teleported. I think teleported is the right term to use here, perhaps, to a place, a designated place, an island, if you will, right? Greed Island. So, I'm excited for that part of it. I'm not sure if it's going to be explored anytime soon. Maybe it's a bit early for that to get an answer for that. But yeah, going back to the possibility of Jing and friends, and perhaps each one of them being responsible for a certain component of the game itself, right? It's really, if you break it down like that, you can easily kind of, borrow the stuff that's been established already, the Nen system, the different types of Nen users, right? So that could be at play. So in this specific case, a few of the Nen specialties really come to mind almost immediately, right? An emitter, a conjurer, right? Those two really come to mind as far as perhaps, some of these NPCs go, right? It could be a simple case of that. Now, in terms of the buildings and all of that, those could be the real deal. So yeah, the buildup of the game actually is quite fascinating to me. So I hope it explores that down the line as well. But yeah, in terms of the reason they decided to make this game, you see almost immediately that, Killua had a different entry to the game, essentially, right? He had a folder or a binder or book. They use both. Book is actually to just conjure or summon. The binder, right? Because they use that term as well. But yeah, his binder had cards in it. Gon's nothing. It had nothing in it, right? Almost kind of feels quite on brand for Jing, doesn't it? But I think the most important part of that, of Gon's save file, is that, it was to get the message to Gon, right? It really kind of feels like that. And again, the main message that Gon took from that as well is that, he should enjoy himself, right? So to me, it feels like perhaps that's one of the key components in terms of the motives behind this game, right? At least one of them for Jing, right? Something for Gon to enjoy perhaps one day, right? And the day has come. He made it here, right? And he heard the message before entering Greed Island. And yeah, there's a few interesting moments with Gon in terms of digesting the perception of the game. Because the things that the faction that is trying to recruit Gon and Killua had to say about the game, those are not the things that Gon really wanted to hear about the game, perhaps, right? You could see it almost immediately on his face, that something's off. He's not liking something about this, and then they confirm a little bit later on as he finally opens up to Killua about it. Yeah, he just didn't like it. He didn't like the way they spoke about the game, right? But more so than that, the way they spoke about Jing's game, right? So it's interesting, isn't it? On one end, it feels like, okay, Jing has done nothing to deserve this type of respect, perhaps, right? Perhaps it is a type of respect, right? Him being defensive on his behalf, him being defensive about Jing's creation, right? That he's accepted almost immediately to enjoy, right? He wants to play it in that manner. So beyond everything else that's kind of led up to this point, his feelings on Jing, his father, here in this specific moment, right, in time, just in his life, he's decided, okay, Jing recommended that I enjoy this, and I'm going to enjoy it, right? But the way they're speaking about it is not something that seems enjoyable, right? So he decided, nah, I'm out. Thanks for the offer, but I'm out of here. And of course, Killua immediately follows the leader, as he puts it. Really quite a cute scene. Before I forget, one of the standouts of this episode is the storyboarding, right? The attention to detail, the attention to the detail in the close-ups, because the close-ups are really quite crucial in this episode. Be it those different close-ups of Gon, right? And these close-ups are from Killua's perspective, be it him looking right at Gon's face, right into his eyes, those big eyes, right? Really, it's like almost hyper-detailed, or not hyper-detailed, much more than usual, right? It's just really, really noticeable that, a lot of this is really quite detailed. And I think it deserved it. There's some really important moments in this episode that are really, really, I don't know, really quite important to the entire series, to this entire friendship, right? These are the moments that us, the audience, is most likely going to, think back to or think of at different moments down the line, perhaps at difficult moments down the line. Hell, they've even kind of suggested that there might be some difficult moments ahead, right? I kind of deviated from my, discussion points about this mysterious girl that's about to, come into their lives. But yeah, let's kind of finish my point about that. Yeah, at this point, I'm not sure if she is, just completely insidious in her intentions, or if it's about to be more of a, I don't know, comedic relief thing, right? A new dynamic. Because again, I mean, she is a girl, right? And if she does join them, and it looks like she is about to, at least come into their circle in some capacity in the really near future, right? Perhaps in the immediate future, maybe even the next episode, most likely. Yeah, it could be one of those things, right? It could be like a fun troll type companion that joins them. But I'm sure there's much more that, she is about to bring to this arc and to that dynamic. Because again, they've made it really quite clear right at the end there that, okay, there's something else going on here, right? So a few things could be at play. Perhaps Gon and Killua's friendship could be tested, right? It could be comedic, right? It could be kind of like a fun companion for comedic relief and all of that. But I'm not saying that's the only thing that this character might bring to this. Hell, there's a strong possibility that she could actually teach them a thing or two, right? The way she spoke, it felt like she's certainly much more experienced than Gon and Killua. I mean, to her, these are young boys, innocent young boys. I mean, she certainly, starts off by saying it's a beautiful thing, isn't it? The friendship. So she picked up on it as well, right? Us, the audience, knows about it, but, she's taking it in as well from higher ground, all of it. So, she's certainly quite capable, some kind of ability at play here. Almost kind of similar to Melody in that sense that, she is able to pick up on the conversation from a distance. So yeah, I'm excited. I'm excited to see how exactly, it mixes things up. But also in terms of Gon declining that offer, and so did the girl as well, but two of them, Puhat and the other guy, the black dude, they accepted the offer. And of course, this faction does lay out their plan as far as clearing the game goes, right? They've got a plan of action and all of that. But again, it'd be silly at this point to completely just trust them, right? To trust all of them. Because I mean, at first, for a solid amount of time or a solid chunk, it felt highly suspicious that this man just approaches them. I mean, it's all a matter of perspective. Sure, from one perspective, it makes sense, right? Again, like they confirmed, many of these people are watching the starting area again for potential new allies, for targets, all of that, right? So sure, there is a possibility that indeed they do have really good intentions and they mean all of this, right? And they are looking for allies, and that's why, Gon and Killua also ended up being approached, scouted, right? But again, it'd be silly to just completely believe them already. Hell, there's even a possibility of spies. There's a lot of possibilities, right? In this type of setting, they've certainly established that there's factions, and that is something I was expecting. Teaming up, alliances, strength in numbers, strength in collective action, and all of that. But also, some people function much better, much more effectively solo, right? A lone wolf. Now, initially, I thought maybe the bomber is one of those figures that I kind of speculated about, right? There could be legendary or feared figures out there. But, as it kind of played out, they kind of confirmed that he does belong to a faction. But also, like I said during the episode, there is a possibility that the bomber might have been on screen already and I don't even know it, right? Right now, in this type of setting, in this type of setup, you kind of have to be open to all possibilities. That's how I'm looking at it. That's how I'm approaching it. So yeah, it's possible. It's possible, right? And if that is the case, in a lot of these types of situations, if there is, kind of like big twist, or I was here all along, sometimes it can be someone you're not expecting, right? So that could be the case. Again, it's almost immediately reminding me of something from One Piece, but I'm not gonna pinpoint just in case of spoilers. But yeah, in terms of Gon being really quite defensive about the disparaging comments about the Great Island game, right? His father's game, Jing's game. Yeah, now you get to see just how much Killua understands Gon. This is a point I made in the last episode's discussion, or a few episodes ago as well. That Killua has a complete understanding of Gon at this point, right? He just knew exactly how to explain this to Gon in a digestible manner, in a manner that he is going to find acceptable, right? Ultimately, right, he kind of applies the rules from, a different type of engagement, perhaps, right? It's like a setup of predetermined rules, like a competition between two people, right? He puts it out really quite clearly and really quite effectively, right? And then he applies that logic to the logic of the game, to their own really specific experiences so far in the game, right? So he helps them kind of understand that it's more of a gray area. But also within that conversation, there is, a really, really interesting moment, right? It's a big statement. I think it's a big moment to kind of have Killua say this, right? And I don't think he's just saying it for the sake of saying it. He truly believes it now, right? I think this is the effect that Gon has had on him, right? And, a few episodes ago, or actually, yeah, it was the last episode, he tells himself, I can't think like an assassin anymore. I'm not an assassin anymore. He firmly believes that. He believes he's left that behind him, and now he's a hunter, or he has to think like a hunter. But he said something really quite interesting, didn't he? Right? And I was, at first, the moment I heard it, I was like, oh, look at that. He said, killing is wrong. Simple as that. It's almost as if he felt the need to take a pause and put that out there, right? Say that to Gon, right? Listen, I agree. I believe this as well now. Killing is wrong. And again, like I said, it's a big moment for someone like him, because killing is something that was just a part of him, right? It's something that was second nature, right? It's something as easy as, eggs in the morning. Though that being said, that guy in the beginning who targeted them, he almost brought out that Killua. So see, it feels like Killua is going to do his best to, not go down that path, to not really try to kill anyone. But sometimes, again, things are a little bit gray. Sometimes you are put in that position and you might need to go down that path, right? That's essentially one of the components of the message he is trying to explain to Gon. But that moment as Killua tells him, let's enjoy the game, right? Kind of reiterates Gon's desire to enjoy the game, after he accepted Jing's, suggestion, essentially, right? Recommendation. That moment, he thanks Killua. Again, that immediate reaction and that close-up of Killua's eyes, his glimmering eyes. Wow, it's I don't know, it's just kind of like a magical moment. Now, listen, folks, do I even go down that path? I don't know. It feels a little bit strange to mention this or say this, but it's kind of getting to that point that it's kind of hard to ignore. That maybe it is kind of suggesting it. Maybe I'm imagining it, but I don't know. I'm usually not one for, picking up on things that aren't there at all. Now, again, I preface this by saying it is a little bit strange to even kind of, speak of this possibility, but, I don't know. It's kind of there, it is kind of presenting it in that manner. Is there a bit of a crush component to it? I feel like some part of it is kind of being presented in that manner. But yeah, at this point, it kind of felt like something I should maybe comment on. But before I do move on from that point, I do want to reiterate a point I made a long time ago at this point, right? And it's interesting that I felt that a long time ago, episodes and episodes ago at this point, that I do feel like these two are soulmates. It really truly felt like that. And again, that the crush aspect, let's disregard that completely. Because again, I remember saying even back then, friends can be soulmates as well. Right, I have friendships like that. I do. But yeah, let's kind of switch back to the Gon and Killua conversation, right? Gon's not happy about just how that faction, that group of people, is presenting the game, right? He didn't like that. It's really taking a focus on it being based on killing and stealing. That's the core component of this, right? That's the reality of this. And listen, Gon, it's just how he is, right? A part of him is naive, right? Not a part of him, that's just part of his personality at this point, right? He still has much to learn, but that's also a part of his charm, I think, his heart of gold and all of that, right? But, him being naive certainly comes into play as well in this case. The thing is, at the end of the day, Jing and his friends, these are intelligent people, really intelligent people, right? I know Jing is, highly respected, one of a kind, right? I always go back to that scene of how much respect someone like Satotes had for Jing, right? And the things he's accomplished. Hell, he looked up to Jing, right? So the thing is, Jing and friends knew that it is going to go down that path. The card limitation aspect is going to go down that slippery slope, yet they still made it a part of the game. They made the choice to have that be a core component of the game. And on that front, for some reason I thought most cards are going to have a really low transformation limit, right? Because I guess I really latched onto that example in the last episode, right? There the example was of 3. Right, so I kind of just assumed, okay, everything's just going to be a low number, but no, I see some of the really common basic cards, right? Stuff that's almost considered useless even. You see Gon and Killua's reaction inside of that restaurant. Some of these cards have, limits of 185. That's quite a bit. But then, on the opposite end of the scale, I'm sure there could be cards that indeed do have limits of 3, maybe even less. And that's one of the things I really kind of latched onto in this episode. Right, it kind of has me excited to keep track of how rare an item or a card might be and how many transformations it might have. Right, so to me that's exciting. Right, keeping track of that kind of stuff. And, the thing is, they're actually going into detail. Hell, a lot of it is actually impossible to pick up on, right? Unless you pause it immediately. And of course, I can't do that. You can't pause it as it's playing because, then of course, everything kind of goes out of sync because I don't screen record. But yeah, I did go back to the cards that are mentioned or used in this episode specifically and read the descriptions. For the most part, it's really quite simple. Right, simple stuff as of this point. I'm sure there might be cards down the line, or maybe even really quite soon, that are going to be a bit more, interesting in their, capabilities, right? The spells, that is. The interesting part of this is that the game itself is established as something that can't really hurt you. The functionality of the game or the functionality of the cards or the items, the spells themselves cannot hurt anyone. I believe the specific line of dialogue is, no spell in this game is capable of injuring people or killing people, right? They really made it a point to really establish that. But again, the spells might not be able to kill people. Well, people can most definitely kill people. Right? And that is certainly the case. And again, the item transformation limit is one of the main reasons for that. It ended up being something really quite tricky. And it's kind of put the people of the game and the game itself in this loop almost, right? A vicious cycle even, perhaps. So yeah, to connect it back to my initial point, Jing and friends knew it's going to go down this path, or probably had a good idea that, if you set it up in this manner, there is going to be conflict. And it feels like it is by design. Because of course, it could have made it something like, okay, if you are going to target someone and actually kill them, right? Then that card or that copy of the card is just gone forever, right? It's been eliminated from the game. So it's not going to go back into the system. And that's like the new bit of information that I got in this episode, right? And before I got that information, I was a little bit confused about, okay, they kind of confirmed in the last episode that, okay, if someone dies, the binder and the cards they had in that binder, they just kind of disappear. You can't just kill someone and take their collection. Maybe someone has a collection that's 80% complete. You can't just jump someone and take that by killing them, right? So I like that. I really like that aspect in the last episode. So I was a little bit confused up until I got that confirmation. So if someone dies, you can't get that collection from them, but everything that they had in their possession or in that binder, it kind of goes back, right? It resets. But yeah, let's kind of move to the beginning of the episode because, I get a bit of a rare moment. You get that rare inner monologue for Gone. So anytime that happens, it's about to be some fascinating insight, right? Because you don't get that all that often, right? But in this really, specific and rare case, Gone was by himself for a bit, right? He kind of gets to observe his surroundings. And again, the opening of this episode is more of a, ominous tone, right? In comparison to the ending of the last episode, it's the same place. It's the exact same, moment. It's him just out in the open, just kind of, taking his first steps into Great Island. But, here it's presented a bit more as, okay, now he's open to the elements, right? It's him against anything and everything that's out there. Everyone that's kind of, scoping out for, again, new talent, new targets, allies, potential allies, and all of that. They show me those two goons. They show me the sideburn guy, right? The one that the bomber got. And then they show me another guy, right? They kind of focus on this guy. There's a shot of him actually. It's a great shot actually from Gon's perspective, looking up at him, and he has a quick glimpse at Gon, right? And then he walks on as well. So it was an interesting moment to have Gon just kind of be by himself for a bit. But lastly, I even got a bit of Phantom Troupe, a check-in at the Phantom Troupe HQ. I mean, that's always, at least for me, it's always just a beautiful sight. A beautiful sight. The exterior shot of at least, Troupe HQ here in York New City. A check-in with the members that are still here in York New City. And of course, a lovely touch to even kind of focus on the memorial for, the late Pakunora, right? You see that Machi is the one that's been most affected by this loss. And yeah, that's been established already that, Machi was the one that was essentially the first one to really understand, okay, Pakunora is about to do this. And yeah, you see here that she's still really kind of down about this, right? I'm not sure if she'll be joining them. Maybe she'll join them. I don't know. But the others are down. The other members are down to go into the game because Shalnark thinks it's a good idea, right? And he's not trying to clear the game or anything. He's got other intentions from the sounds of it, right? More or less, apparently. It relates to troop business. So my immediate thought was, okay, Shalnark is on the case already. Like I said, it's been established that he is one of those members that can kind of function as the leader, the acting boss of a splinter group, perhaps. And this is one of those groups at the moment for the Phantom Troupe. So maybe he came across something. It looks like he's been at it. He's been doing some research about the game. Again, after digging into that tutorial book or just the book about the game itself. After Finks and Phaeton, bring it to their attention. So my immediate thought was, okay, maybe he's figured something out in terms of potentially solving the Crollo issue. Right, Crollo's really strange and interesting issue at the moment. And again, they established through Finks that the troop already knows about this possibility of removing the Nen somehow. Right, that the possibility is there. So is there even a case to be made here about a potential item? Again, I'm thinking an item of this magnitude, of this capacity, or something that could be capable of something like this, right? Potentially freeing Crollo from this affliction. Could there be an item? Could there be some kind of insanely rare item that is present in the game? And Shalnark has kind of come across a mention of it or something, right? So that could be a possibility. Because again, the guy who's hiring a lot of these people, including Gon and Killua, he's after something as well, right? And he's sparing no expenses, right? He's going in hard, acquiring as many copies, all the copies actually, right? Even though, one or two do get stolen from time to time, apparently, right? Finks and Phaeton certainly got themselves a 5-finger discount in this case. But yeah, as you know by now, I'm a big fan of the Phantom Troupe, quite the Phantom Troupe enjoyer, right? So I'm really quite happy. I'm happy that they are a part of this, or at least a few of them are, right? There's a handful of them actually. So I'm excited for that aspect of it as well. More of them showing up in the game, in addition to Finks and Phaeton, and then them potentially running into Gon and Killua as well at some point, right? And that dynamic, a different dynamic. But yeah, to sign off, I just want to say again that it's a lovely touch to, focus on the memorial, that tribute to the fallen comrade, right? The martyr that is Pakunora. And of course, the upside down crown is featured, right? So is her gun. The gun that was able to communicate so much, right? Communicate everything, including her specific feelings as well. But yeah, I think that should do it for this one, folks. If you enjoyed that, consider dropping a like, consider dropping some comments, give me your thoughts. If you are interested in early access to the next few episodes right now, or perhaps even, full opacity or timer-based full length, consider checking out the Patreon page and potentially supporting the channel as well in the process. If you are interested, the links are in the description and the pinned comment. Also links to social media, if that's your thing. Right then, thank you so much for joining me, folks, and thank you for your time, because time is precious. It really is. And I do hope to see you again soon for the next one. Until then, take it easy.